Good morning. Good morning, traders. How are you all doing today? Karibuni sana. Glad that you could all join us this fine Tuesday morning. Hope everyone is doing well today. Apologies for starting a few minutes late. There were just a few technical difficulties that we needed to sort out. However, at least we are here. So glad that you could join us. Remember, this Afriforex daily analysis session, we do these webinars based on ideas or at least trading opportunities that we would be looking at taking for the day. And we do share that information with you. So as usual, not here alone. We do have John in the back office. So we'll be here to assist with whatever questions or queries you might have. So feel free to ask your questions either in the Q&A section or in the chat box, and John will be there to respond to you. But remember, if you do ask the question in the Q&A section, at least there, I'll be able to address all those questions at the end of the webinar. So let's jump straight into it. So as usual, start off with sharing my screen. So yesterday, so obviously we'll start off with our watch list. So yesterday, can't see the difference between our watch list and today. Our focus was to look for buying opportunities on the Swiss franc, the euro, as well as the Japanese yen. You can see we also had gold and the US 30 there. And we did want to mix and match these three pairs on the buy side with all these pairs on the sell side. So that's the New Zealand dollar, the British pound, the Australian dollar, Canadian dollar, as well as the US dollar. Now you can see today there has been a slight change. We do have the euro, which did end up not necessarily showing that strength that we had hoped to see yesterday. It has actually moved to the sell side for today. So our focus is going to be focusing on the Swiss franc as well as the Japanese yen. And we're going to mix and match that with all the pairs on the sell side. Now, this watch list could end up changing because remember, this whole week, we've not necessarily had much fundamental. So yesterday, there was hardly anything. So at least today, we do end up having some Swiss franc news, some high impact euro fundamentals. So we do have some GDP news. You can see by 12, as well as at 3 p.m. So we do end up expecting some volatility on the euro, at least some movement there. However, we will end up informing you if there are going to be any changes to the watch list. We will inform you on the Telegram channel. So do make sure you do join us from that. There should be a link to join our Telegram channel in the chat box. So for now, this is going to be our watch list. So for now, we'll just end up looking at the pairs that we did have yesterday. Most of them are the euro pairs. See what actually happened. See what opportunities did work, did not work. Before we do end up looking at a few screenshots that we did manage to get, then we will focus on today's pairs. So we'll start off here with the euro against the New Zealand dollar. Remember, on this kind of pair, yesterday our bias was to look for buying opportunities. And you can see the three areas that we had pointed out. Looked like initially we were in some sort of range, bouncing between these two levels. And initially, when we're having this session, the price was all the way within this seller's area. Remember, we did point out we needed the price either to break and hold above this area or hopefully get a pullback coming in for us to look for those buying opportunities. So unfortunately, it could not get all the way to this particular low. Because remember, we were within a range, and the best place to look for the trade is at the bottom of the range. Did end up managing to start going to the upside. You can see a 3 from this small buyer's area, but did end up coming back within this particular seller's area. So it did not necessarily take off as we had hoped. And you can see today, the price has managed to break and hold below this particular area, and the price does seem to be coming down lower. So even though it's coming back towards this extreme area, the euro fundamentals, since we do have them coming in later, we might end up seeing some strength from them. But for now, it does seem that the euro is showing weakness, and that's the reason why it is a pair that's going to be off our watch list for today. So the next pair we did have was the euro against the British pound. Similar situation. Our bias yesterday was to look for buying opportunities, and you can see the buys did start working out during the London session. In fact, straight from the Frankfurt market open, you can see the move to the upside, and the price did manage to continue going up higher. Now, remember, we always point out, even though the price was all the way here, the fact that the price was pulling back, we wanted to see the price actually hold above for us to look for buying opportunities there. But you can clearly see the price came back in, held below. So at that point in time, no trading opportunity. Did manage to come back towards this buyer's area. No buyers did end up taking off. And you can see the price did manage to continue all the way to this bottom area. So we did come to the aggressive area where we're hoping to see the buyers come in, but you can clearly see the price did continue coming down slightly. So it did fall off our watch list, even though it did come back during the Asian session today. We might still find some issues on this pair. Now, it all depends. If the euro fundamentals do come out and we do end up seeing some euro strength, we could end up finding these prices going up higher. But just based on this weakness that did come in, and we'll end up having a look at them on majority of these euro pairs, we might not necessarily see, we might end up seeing a continuation of this weakness. So wait to see what ends up happening. But unfortunately, this is a pair that's going to be off our watch list for today. So moving on to the next pair, we did have the euro against the Australian dollar. We can see the similar correlation. We did want to look for buying opportunities on this pair, and we did have these three areas highlighted. Now, you can clearly see within this buyer's area, wanted to see how the buyers are going to take it up. Did point out to watch out for this seller's area because it seems that the market was still holding within that location. And you can see around 10 o'clock when the London market opened, the price did not manage to break that area to the upside. In fact, these sellers managed to actually break this area to the downside, and you can see the price holding below, and you did get more confirmation here later on. It confirmed that this pair did fall off our watch list, and you can see that euro weakness. So that's the reason why we're not going to be focusing on it today. So the next pair we did have was the euro against Canadian dollar. Now, in this kind of pair, our bias was to look for buying opportunities. You can clearly see we're all the way up here within this particular area. We did point out we did seem to be in some sort of range bouncing between these two levels, or there was potential for that. And you can see the price did not manage to hold within this area. It actually breached and held below. So at that point in time, our next area of interest comes down towards this location. So you can see right now, the market didn't manage to continue going all the way down. It looked as if it breached this area to the downside. At 4:30, we did manage to get the price coming back in, and he did manage to go and hold above. So there was a small buying opportunity yesterday. There might still be one today just based on how the market structure looks. But unfortunately, this is a pair that could end up giving us issues. Remember, when pairs are both on the same side, they do end up tending to range. So it wouldn't be no surprise if this market actually keeps on ranging between these two levels. But unfortunately for us, this is a pair that's going to be off our watch list. Let me say for now. So remember, we do have a lot of euro fundamentals coming out later today. So if it does end up coming to the buy side, we could end up seeing possibly this price going up higher. But we'll wait to see what happens there. But for now, there's a pair that's going to be off our watch list. And last but not least, we did have the euro against the US dollar. Similar situation, you can see that euro weakness coming in. And you can see the fact that we keep on pointing out these areas and mentioning we should be able to see some sort of probe or price action signal. So at 10 o'clock, you can clearly see the price did not manage to hold above. It actually breached this area to the downside and was holding below. So at that point in time, no buying opportunity. Later on, when you can see the price came down, it looked as if it potentially could have probed. We're hoping to see the price actually hold above, but as soon as it came back in and held below. So this confirmed that this level had actually been broken to the downside. And as soon as it did that, this pair did fall off our watch list. So unfortunately for us today, we're not going to be looking at that, as well as the fact that yesterday did fall off. But remember, since we have some euro fundamentals coming out later, you never know what could end up happening. So just make sure you keep up to date with us in our Telegram channel. So let's jump into the pairs that we did have. So to a number of screenshots that we didn't manage to get. So here we'll start off with Alvin. So Alvin, you did manage to grab a buying opportunity on the British pound against the US dollar. Not a pair we were looking at yesterday, but it seems that you did end up taking the counter trade where the price is now going up after this move to the downside. So very, very well done on this. You end up hoping that you are managing the trade, especially when they're counter trades. You never know how far they're going to go before the main seller comes back in. So in these situations, as the price is going up, making new highs, higher highs and higher lows, you should be able to put your stop losses within just below than the most recent higher low. So if you can see the market going to the upside initially, so if I can annotate quickly, you can see initially having your stop loss below here would have been okay based on the fact that this was the push to the upside. Now, once the buyers pushed up again from here going up, you can basically move your stop loss there. So at least you're securing the market as it's going up. And just in case the price comes back in and goes below that, ideally, remember the market is meant to be making higher highs and higher lows. So that's why you're meant to actually be out of the market if it starts giving you lower lows and lower highs. So that's the best way you can end up maximizing on your trade. But very, very well done on this trade, Alvin. Keep up the good work that you're doing. So also next, we did get Dan Bickett did manage to grab a selling opportunity on the DAX 100. So this is the German 40, the top 40 German companies. So it seems that you do like these indices and very happy to see you manage to grab a very nice selling opportunity. Price coming down, can see you're already starting to manage your trade. So very, very good job on this. Not too sure, okay, you're targeting all the way at the bottom, but I do end up hoping you manage your trade within these buyers as it's approaching. But I do know Dan Bickett, you're a veteran here, so very, very well done. I do know you know what you're doing there. So you did also manage to grab a selling opportunity on the NASDAQ. So at least this is a pair that we did have. Remember, we were ranging. I'm happy to see you did grab some nice selling opportunities right there at the top. Some have already been managed. Some are actually already on the way down. Can see your target area all the way down here at the bottom. But I do know once it does get to these problem areas, we will do some sort of trade management. So very, very good job on this trade, Dan Bickett. Keep up the amazing work that you're doing. So also next we did get George Chege. Have to see your screenshots here as usual. So very nice. You did manage to grab a very nice buying opportunity on gold. Can see the price going up very well in your favor. Managed to close your trade right there where the sellers are. So very, very good job on this trade. Not much you can say. Ideally, it was a trade that did happen after, or at least yeah, after the market happened, or at least you did send this after the trade already happened. So not necessarily too sure where you put your stop loss, but still happy to see that you are taking advantage of this and you did end up making some good tips on the charts. So very, very well done on that. So remember, guys, if you do manage to take any setups based on things that we do share, feel free to send them in to us. Our contact details are there in the chat box. So let's jump straight into today's pairs. So right now, we'll start off with the Swiss franc pairs, mix and match them with the pairs on the sell side, then do the same thing with the Japanese yen before we do have a look at the indices as well as gold and silver. Now, for the Swiss franc did not necessarily perform for us very well yesterday. And one thing could be that this market could just be on the pullback. So can see we start off here with the New Zealand dollar against the Swiss franc. Remember, yesterday our bias was to look for selling opportunities on this. Can clearly see the three areas that we had highlighted. So the aggressive sellers right there at the top. Now, the market did not necessarily do much during the London session. Wanted to see a breach and a hold below. Can see they attempted to do that, but it just came straight back in during the US session. So unfortunately, no trading opportunity then. Wanted to see whether or not we could end up getting some sort of reaction within the sellers area. They did not seem to end up holding. And you can see the way the price does seem to be going up right now. Overall, we'll still be looking for these selling opportunities. And remember, the main thing is the fact that we do end up having some Swiss franc fundamentals coming out at 10 o'clock. And if we do end up going to a higher time frame quickly, you will be able to see, can see the fact that the Swiss franc had been showing a lot of strength for a very, very long time. You can see the way this market has been moving to the downside. And as it has been coming down, this is a lot of strength that it's been doing. So right now, what you're seeing here possibly could just be a pullback. Right now, the fact that all those people who are thinking sell, because I don't think anybody was thinking that this market is going to be going up. However, right now that the price is going up, possibly breaking above support and resistance levels, most people right now are starting to think buys. But remember, we do have some Swiss franc fundamentals coming out at 10. So all those late buyers, because remember, if you wanted to make money in this pair, or at least on the buys should have happened all the way down at the bottom. So at least by right now, most of those people who did buy at the bottom, they're possibly closing their trades. And for them to close their trades, in order for you to close a buy, you need to sell. And you could find some many selling orders coming in based on this pullback. So we'll be very interested to see whether or not the Swiss franc fundamentals come out still showing us strength, or if they show us weakness, then these pairs will really fall off our watch list and it would make sense why the prices are going up. But for right now, we could easily find this market actually coming down very aggressive. You can see all those late buyers just getting stopped out. You can see the price coming back in, and you could see that happening. So we'll wait to see what ends up happening. But if the price holds above, when we do get a proper hold, remember, this is a pair that's going to fall off our watch list. So we pretty much have the same levels, but we'll be very interested to see how these pullbacks are coming in. Because also, if you do end up comparing how the seller came down, very aggressive, you can see within one particular session or so. You can see, I think this was from the London session all the way till the US session. So just one session, the price came all the way down here. And it's taken over almost 3 days to get towards that same particular area. It definitely is showing the sellers are stronger than the buyers. So that's the reason why it's very interesting to see what ends up happening here. You can actually end up getting that probe. And we do see aggressive sellers coming in. Because remember, in order for Swiss franc strength to come in, we need this price to actually be coming down. Because remember, Swiss franc is the counter currency. But overall, we'll wait to see what ends up happening on the New Zealand dollar against the Swiss franc. So in these situations, ideally, rather than waiting, you can be able to set alerts within certain locations. So if the prices come back in and you get notified, then you can possibly now start looking for some potential selling opportunities. It all depends on how the sellers come. So hope that's clear on the New Zealand dollar against the Swiss franc. So the story is pretty much similar on most of these Swiss franc pairs. You can see we also had the British pound against the Swiss franc. Initially, while looking for selling opportunities, there was a small sell that did work out. Remember, we did have the aggressive sellers air right here yesterday. And we did point out that the fact that these buyers seem to have been running and holding within this area. Did mention that if we can get the price breaching and holding below, there could be a potential selling opportunity. And you can see the market it did manage to come all the way down toward this buyer's area. But later on, during the US session, you can see the price started coming to the upside. But it's a similar situation on all these Swiss franc pairs. If we do end up going to a higher time frame, you can see on the 1 hour time frame, the fact that this market has been coming down for a long time. Look at the strength of the sellers and look at this pullback that's coming in. So at one point in time, we could end up seeing this market coming down. You can see we do have the red support and resistance here within this support and resistance. So the fact that the price has broken here, it could potentially react within this particular location. That's the reason why we'll still be looking for selling opportunities on the British pound against the Swiss franc. However, we'll be adjusting the level slightly. So we'll be focusing on sales based on aggressive sellers right here at the top. So as long as the price is holding below this area, we should be looking for selling opportunities. We do have a problem area right here because you can see this is an area which was holding as a resistance area, but it could end up being a support area. And we do have the main sellers right here, main buyers that could end up giving us issues all the way down till the bottom. So this level doesn't matter right now, but if we are able to at least get the buyers coming in, and we do want to see them coming in slowly, and that's what we're actually seeing right now, could potentially seeing some aggressive sellers coming in. We do end up seeing that, we could potentially find a very nice selling opportunity. So the fact that the buyers are coming in slowly, we see the sellers really showing up and we see the buyers struggling, could end up finding a very nice selling opportunity coming in, making sure to manage our trade within these problem areas. Remember, if we can get the price breaking and holding below, we should be able to come back towards the next buyer's area all the way at the bottom. But for now, we'll wait to see what kind of correlation comes in with the Swiss franc pairs. So moving on to the next Swiss franc pair, we do have the Australian dollar against the Swiss franc. We can see the similar correlation. Overall, yesterday we're looking for selling opportunities. It does seem that all these Swiss franc pairs are just on their pullback, and you can see the fact that the market has been coming down. We did have this particular level that we're hoping to see because you can see it does seem to be an area where sellers have reacted from before. You can see within this particular area right here. But the fact that the price does look as if it's going up, remember, we haven't yet gotten a full confirmation that this level has actually been breached to the upside. So we'll wait to see what ends up happening. If we can end up getting these markets giving us some nice probes. So remember, right now, everybody is thinking that this price is going to go up. But if we wanted to jump in on this buy, where would you end up putting your stop loss? Most people, you might find them putting their stop losses all the way down here at the bottom. And that's what could end up happening, or at least seeing that this price will possibly even come down, struggle to go to the upside, and we could end up seeing these sells coming in. But remember, if the price ends up actually holding above this particular area, this pair will fall off our watch list. So we'll wait to see what ends up happening. Very interested to see what ends up happening at exactly 10 o'clock. So we'll try and finish just slightly earlier. So at least by 10, we end up seeing if the markets start coming down, we could end up setting up some nice trading opportunities on the Swiss franc. If not, then ideally these pairs will end up falling off our watch list. So moving on to the next Swiss franc pair, we do have the Canadian dollar against the Swiss franc. You can see not much happened yesterday. We're hoping to see the sellers, at least the sellers come in potentially within this sellers area. Because remember, we did point out that there was a selling opportunity here as well. But these sellers did not really hold. The big boys did not necessarily show their face. You can see the price has managed to come all the way back to this extreme area. So overall, the bias here is still going to be looking for selling opportunities. Aggressive sells right there. Remember, the probability of your sells working out if the price breaks and falls above the red support resistance area drastically reduces if it does end up holding above. But if we get probes end up giving us some nice clarification. And you can see situations like this where the buyers are coming in, you start seeing aggressive sellers. These probes, these are what we kind of want to see. Obviously, the bigger the probe, the better. But remember, this market is not necessarily going to move possibly until the market opening time, and the fact that there's news at 10 o'clock exactly could end up seeing some nice selling opportunities here. But that's if the fundamentals still remain or if this market actually ends up holding below. But for right now, we pretty much remain with the same exact areas for the Canadian dollar against the Swiss franc. We'll be interested to see what ends up happening. So moving on, the next Swiss franc pair, similar correlation or at least similar situation. We were looking for selling opportunities yesterday on the US dollar against Swiss franc. Fortunately, you can see at 10 o'clock, the price actually broke and held above this particular area. So at that point in time, it did fall off our watch list, but the story pretty much is exactly the same. Now, if you do end up noticing something about this market structure, remember we always point out, first thing you need to end up identifying is what kind of market structure are you in, because that gives you an idea of what could end up happening, or at least the locations of where you could potentially end up taking a trade. So one thing we have realized is that if you look closely, this market does seem to be in sort of channel. So the fact that we are channeling, Right now, we're approaching this upper level. So let me just adjust this slightly. So right now, we're approaching this particular area right here. We'll be interested to see. And that's the reason why this pullback actually came in a lot further. So remember, all those people who are selling right now, they're no longer thinking it's a sell. If they've lost sight of the fact that we're within a channel. And you can see this, we're within on the support and resistance area. So we'll be very interested to see what ends up happening. And especially if you can't even see what happened before, similar situation, the sellers came down aggressive. There was a pullback, and you can see how much it was struggling. But once the market struggles within this particular area, you can see it did manage to actually come to the downside. So we'll be very interested to see what ends up happening within here, within the US dollar against the Swiss franc. So let me just delete this channel slightly for now. So overall, our bias here is still going to be looking for selling opportunities. So just zoomed in now, coming down to the 15-minute. So we'll be interested to see what kind of reaction we do end up getting within this area. You can see the fact that there's a news event already also setting itself up. We might find some very nice selling opportunities availing themselves on the US dollar against the Swiss franc. But we need to see signs of aggressive sellers coming in. We're already seeing the signs that the buyers are starting to slow down, but we do need to see those sellers showing interest. So that is the game plan on the US dollar against the Swiss franc. So hope that's clear as we move on to the next and last Swiss franc pair. So this is a brand new entry on our watch list because remember the euro and the Swiss franc were both on the same side yesterday, but the fact that the euro fundamentals have changed, or at least it's now showing weakness, we will be looking for selling opportunities on this kind of pair. So overall, bias here is to look for selling opportunities. Can see the same correlation coming in with these Swiss franc pairs. Right now, the fact that we're within a range, it's a very good thing, ideally, since we're looking for sells. Best place to look for the selling opportunities is at the top of the range where we are. But remember, what we want to see is the price actually coming in and holding below. And don't necessarily start looking for trading opportunities just now. Remember the market opening times. 10, 3, and 4:30 are the best times for the markets to actually move. Majority of the time, you'll find situations like this where you actually look for a trading opportunity now. But based on the fact that it's not within a specific time, you could end up finding the market going up, stopping people out. Then you find the market giving you a pullback and it's right there. It ends up being there at 10 o'clock. So you will find that the market actually set themselves up quite nicely. The fact that we're dealing here with the euro as well, you could end up finding, remember, we do have a number of euro fundamentals coming out today, 11 p.m. and 12 p.m. So you could find that, first of all, we could incite a few buyers. Then when the 11 o'clock news comes in, that's when you find the market actually coming in. So all those late buyers end up getting stopped out because all their stop losses were here. And that's when you find the market possibly giving you a pullback, confirming that it's holding below before you can see the price coming down. So we'll wait to see what ends up happening. But overall, bias here is to look for selling opportunities. Let's wait to see if we can get a very nice flow coming in, or at least not seeing these buyers still showing their face. You can see sellers came in aggressive, but the fact that the buyers are still showing up, it's not yet time. So we'll wait to see what ends up happening on the euro against the Swiss franc. So I hope that's clear on the Swiss franc pairs. As you can see, we've mixed and matched the Swiss franc with all the pairs on the sell side. So right now, we're going to do the same thing with the Japanese yen pairs. So the yen pairs were setting themselves up nicely, still setting themselves up slightly, while looking for these selling opportunities on the New Zealand dollar against the yen. So remember, we did point out that we did have some sort of pattern showing up, or some potential pattern showing up. And remember, within these patterns, what we wanted to see was a breach to the downside and a hold below. We did see that. We could have potentially found some nice selling opportunities. But you can clearly see right now, this buyer's area seem to have really held quite a bit. So overall, we'll still be looking for selling opportunities, but it seems that there's something either happening with the New Zealand dollar pairs. And I think we did end up having a look at this when we were discussing the market early in the morning. But if we take a look at, let's say, the euro against the New Zealand dollar, look at the way that New Zealand dollar is showing a lot of strength right now. The New Zealand dollar against the Swiss franc, you can see the same situation. New Zealand dollar against the yen, the New Zealand dollar seems to be showing a bit of strength. So we'll find out what ends up happening, or at least what's happening with the New Zealand dollar, because you can see right now, or at least today, I've not had any fundamentals for the New Zealand dollar. So it's very interesting to see what ends up happening. Seems that the big boys might have some interest in this, or you might find it actually just pulling back to some sort of seller's area. You can see this market has been coming down for a long time, and there are many levels where the market could potentially react from. So you could find that the market, even though it's all the way up here, I think we did end up seeing that on the euro against the British pound. Doesn't matter how high the price goes, you can still see the price coming back in. So wait to see what ends up happening. But right now, overall, since we are learned to be looking for selling opportunities on this, the fact that the price is going to the upside, if it holds above this area, this is a pair that's going to be off our watch list for now. So we'll wait to see what ends up happening. If it comes back in and holds below, then the price will be back into our watch list for today. But for now, I think this is a pair that's going to be off our watch list, even though we'll still have pretty much have the same level. So we'll wait to see what ends up happening on all these other yen pairs. Can see them starting to show some sort of correlation. Hopefully, we can end up getting these prices coming in low, because we do know that the yen pairs are meant to still be showing us a bit of strength. So still focus on the same locations. So aggressive selling opportunities right there at the top. Remember, the yens are correlated quite a bit. We can see we've probed this area before. Hopefully, we can end up getting this price coming back in and holding below. Then we should be able to look for selling opportunities. If not, and we see the price is actually holding above, there could be something happening with the yen pairs. Remember, there was some intervention that did end up coming in, some government intervention, yet they did not necessarily let us know, or at least people know. And we did see what kind of reaction that intervention did have, because it happened all the way at the top there. And you can see the way the price has really, really come down. So you don't know whether or not there's other more intervention that's coming in, or this price is actually going to be breaking to the upside. So we wait to see what ends up happening. But for now, ideally, we just need to be a bit patient, wait to see if we can end up getting this price coming back in and holding below. Because remember, this is not a break yet. We have seen many times that the prices look as if they've gone to the upside. Unless it pulls back and holds above, then this level has not yet been broken. Once we get the price, if it comes back in and holds below, then is when we should be able to look for those selling opportunities on the British pound against the Japanese yen. And knowing the yen pairs, chances are all these pairs are probably doing the same thing. And we can clearly see here the Australian dollar against the yen. So the fact that this is happening, we wait to see what ends up happening. Chances are if the prices hold above, we might end up finding that the yens have actually switched sides for a bit. Or maybe, because this the fact that the price has been coming down for so long, could easily find that this is just a pullback to one of these areas. And that's the risk about actually looking for those selling opportunities anywhere. We want to react to at least a sell within a seller's area. So if you take note of locations where sellers have reacted from before, you can see it even right now, but back within an area where sellers have reacted from before. So all those people just jumping in on buys, it's not yet a buy until we get this price actually giving us a pullback and holding above. If it holds above, then this pair will fall off our watch list. But what we want to see, we're hoping to see, is some sort of probe coming in. So if we can end up seeing something like that, then we should be able to look for those selling opportunities. But for now, let's be on the sidelines on these pairs and wait to see what ends up happening. So moving on to the next yen pair, as you can see the same correlation, Canadian dollar against the yen. We want to see what ends up happening here. So pretty much the story is the same. So sounding like a broken record here on these yen pairs. So even though we're looking for these selling opportunities, we can see this movement that's coming to the upside. And be aware that the prices are approaching areas where sellers have reacted from before. Either there, could even end up finding the market approaching this location. And if we do see the price coming back in, or at least we might find that there could be some nice selling opportunities there. But for now, these yen pairs are not necessarily looking the best based on how aggressive they're coming in. So ideally, the game plan would be waiting to see some aggressive sellers and the price coming back in and holding below this area. But remember, the determining factor is if the pullback comes in and holds above this location, then chances are, and we do see that on most of the other yen pairs, these pairs will end up falling off our watch list. So last but not least, or at least moving on to the US dollar against the yen, can see the same correlation coming in on all these pairs. So we do end up going to the higher time frame. We can see overall we were meant to be looking for these selling opportunities. The sellers haven't reacted, but we have approached, or at least we're coming back up to areas where markets might end up reacting. So we'll wait to see what ends up happening, but it seems that these yen pairs might not necessarily be for the sell anymore, but we don't want to get that confirmation first. Because remember, we cannot say that it's for a buy just yet until we get confirmation that this level here has actually been reached. So let's wait to see what ends up happening on the US dollar against the yen, or at least on all these yen pairs. If we can get the price coming back in, then definitely we can look for those sells. But even right now, even if the price was for us to look for buying opportunities, now would not be the best time to look for buys. Remember, we need to see that pullback coming in. And that's the reason why we need to get that confirmation to see the price holding above. Because remember, in order for us to actually buy, we need sellers. And in order for us to sell, we need buyers. And that's the reason why many people start entering the trades very late, end up losing their money. Remember, most of the people who made the money off the sells are right there at the top. So if you were the one of the people who are entering buys, rather than entering a buy here, you would expect the market to actually go way, way higher. But in these situations, you find that those buyers who possibly even bought from down here, they might actually start looking to exit the market. So if there's them, they're exiting, most people start jumping in late. So you're actually exchanging those orders. So they're giving you their bad orders. And they end up taking their profit. So because ideally you'd be buying at such a high price. So right now, it might be one of those situations where it's really inciting the people to start looking for the buys before we do end up seeing the selling opportunities. But let's wait to see how the sellers end up reacting. So last but not least, we do have the euro against the Japanese yen. These are brand new entry on our watch list. We'll be still focusing. Pretty much the same story is happening with all these yen pairs. Right now, we've not yet gotten any confirmation that this price is actually fully breached. You can't even see the fact that the price has done this literally before, where it managed to look as if it was breaking this area to the upside and came straight back in, and you can't see the aggression. So that's exactly what we're hoping to see within this area. We can end up potentially seeing the price coming back in and holding below, then we should find a nice selling opportunity. But for now, if the price holds above, remember this pair will fall off our watches. So the yen pairs not necessarily showing that much, or at least it's not necessarily showing as if it's giving us some nice opportunities. We just need to see those aggressive sellers coming in. Similar situation with the Swiss franc with the pullbacks. We need to see those sellers coming in aggressively. But luckily, at least yesterday, there was no news, which was a bad thing, because remember, we need fundamentals to actually incite the market. The fact that today we do have a number of fundamentals, you can see Swiss franc fundamentals, we have a bunch of euro fundamentals, and these are high impact news. So you can see the GDP news. And we also have some US dollar news later on. So at least today we do end up expecting some volatility. But tomorrow, I do know there's going to be a lot. I think most news I've seen in quite a while. So you can see during the Asian session, we have a number of news. So we could end up seeing at least some movement there. During the London session, you can see we have a lot of news, as well as during the US session. So there's going to be at least a lot of volatility today and tomorrow. But for now, I think the watch list will remain the same for now. So that's it for all the currency pairs. As you can see, we've mixed and matched the Swiss franc and the Japanese yen with the pairs on the sell side. Wait to see what ends up happening on those pairs. So right now, we'll have a look at the indices before we do look at gold and silver. So we'll start off with the NAS 100. NASDAQ, we were looking for selling opportunities yesterday. And this is the one that Biket didn't manage to grab. So very nice sell, because you can see we're looking for sell based on the fact that the market structure was a range. So wanting to look to see if we can grab a selling opportunity within the top of the range. You can see the market did end up coming in at 3 o'clock and at 4:30, giving us some nice selling opportunities, coming all the way down towards this buyer's area. And remember, that's the reason why we always tell you, make sure you manage your trade, because if you did not manage, you could easily end up getting the price coming back in, or if you move your stop loss a bit too close, these situations will end up stopping you out before the market actually continues going. But today, since the fact that the market structure is pretty much the same, we'll still be pretty much looking for these selling opportunities, respecting these three areas. So aggressive sellers right there at the top. We do have a buyer's area right here at the bottom, or at least in the middle, which is definitely a problem area. That's the thing is, within these problem areas, we just need to do some trade management. You can see it has attempted to try and breach this area to the downside, but on the pullback, it did not hold. So this is not yet a breach. So the price is still holding above. Hopefully, we can end up getting this price actually breaching this area to the downside and holding below. That's when we can end up being able to look for selling opportunities. Alternatively, let's see if we can end up getting the price coming back in all the way to the top of the range before we're able to look for those selling opportunities. Now, remember, with the US, the NAS 100, if the price breaks and holds above the red support and resistance area, at that time, you can actually switch and start looking for buying opportunities. So as long as the price is holding below the red SNR, we are looking for sales. When the price is above, we will be looking for buying opportunities. So hope that's clear on the NAS 100 as we move on to the Dow Jones, the US 30. Now, remember yesterday, our bias here was to look for buying opportunities. You can clearly see the price was within an area where the sellers did want to see if we can end up getting the price breaching and holding above. Seems that the market actually ended up giving the pullback at 3 o'clock, as you can see once the US market opened, it attempted to look as if it was breaking to the downside, managed to come all the way down. 4:30, we're back within the buyer's area. So it did end up giving us a small buying opportunity. The buyers have started reacting, but you can see we do have some small support and resistance area here that does seem to be giving us issue. So pretty much we will have the exact same areas, but this one is looking pretty nice for a potential buy, but we need to see the buyers potentially coming back in a bit more aggressive. Because remember, right now, we wanted to see a pullback coming in. So the overall story based on this particular pair, you can see the market managed to go through the upside. You can see we've gotten a pullback within the support and resistance area here, where we could end up seeing the market attempting to go up again. And right now, even just based on how this price, at least these sellers have come down, we compare, or at least most people would be fearful of where the sellers are coming in. So these are concepts that we actually even teach within the AMP program. You can see the fact that the sellers came in very aggressive, and definitely those sellers were aggressive. We did end up getting the price giving pullback to its support and resistance area. Buyer came in quite aggressive, but now this seller who was showing us a lot of strength being able to come all the way down to this level. Look at how he's coming down now. Does seem to be slowing down, even unable to make a new low. So that's already starting to show us a good sign. But what we want to see potentially is some buyers coming in. If we can see some aggressive buyers and we see the sellers really slowing down, we might be able to see a buying opportunity. Now we need to watch out for this area because it seems that there are sellers who have been holding the market there. So there's potential if the price is able to break and hold above. When we do get the price actually holding above this area, we should be able to find a buying opportunity as well. But remember, you do need to make sure you manage your trade within that seller's area right there at the top. So wait to see what ends up happening here. But overall, let's wait to see if we can end up, if we miss a buying opportunity here, let's wait to see if we can get the price reaching and holding above for us to look for a buying opportunity. But be aware, if the buyers don't show up, this level might not be good enough. And you could easily see the market coming down slightly. So you could end up easily finding all those people who are jumping in on buys, all their stop losses are below here. So you could end up easily finding the market just spiking down, coming back up, and that's when you find the trade actually going. So be aware of that and take note of the market opening times. So that's it for the Dow Jones. So I hope that's clear. So moving on to the next pair we do have. Now, silver worked out for us quite well yesterday. Remember, yesterday our bias was to look for selling opportunities. In terms of the market structure, we were within a particular range. So we wanted to see if we can jump in on these selling opportunities. You can see the way the market did come in quite aggressive yesterday. We're wanting to see if we can end up getting the price coming back in and holding below. You can see it attempted to do that the first time during the Asian session. The big boys during the Asian session were not interested. During the London session, it attempted to do the exact same thing to hold below. It did not do that. But now during the US session, you can see once the price at 3 o'clock came back in, price gave us a pullback, and at around 4:30, that's when the market had enough strength to actually take off to the downside. And remember, these are things that we always point out. Because remember, dealing with gold and silver, as well as these indices, they're mainly active during the US session. So you have a higher probability of it moving within that particular time. So you can see the trade worked out very nicely. The range within that particular area should have managed your trade within the bottom area because you can clearly see these buyers have reacted. But overall, our bias here is still going to be looking for selling opportunities. Pretty much have the exact same areas. Aggressive sellers right there at the top. We have a conservative area here because you can see as the price broke to the upside, it does seem to be holding above. So wait to see if we can end up getting this price breaching and holding below this area. We should be able to look for selling opportunities, making sure to manage our trade within this particular area. Now, even though we're looking for the main seller right there at the top, you can see we're also within a small support and resistance area that the price kept on holding. So right now, as the price has reached the downside, you can see the fact that we're pulled back to this area. We might find some potential selling opportunities that could end up reacting within this location, but we need to see the aggressive sellers coming in first. Until then, there is no selling opportunity just yet. So hope that's clear on the game plan for silver. So moving on to gold. Now on gold, remember yesterday our bias was to look for buying opportunities. We did have these 3 areas highlighted, looking for those buys. Now remember also pointed out based on the larger time frame. Remember, I did say that this was just a huge pullback. The way the buyers was coming in was a huge pullback, and you could see the sellers coming in. Now, especially when you come back to the 4-hour time frame, I think now is when you can be able to see the way the price did actually, or at least there were these main sellers, and all that push to the upside was just a pullback. Did mention that we could end up finding some aggressive sellers coming in because it does seem to be setting up nicely for a potential sell. And we did see the aggressive sellers coming in. And right now, if you compare how the sellers came in with the buyers are definitely struggling within that particular area. So we want to definitely see if we can end up, or at least the market does look as if it's potentially giving us a turning, or at least attempting to turn. So overall here, now our bars will switch to selling opportunities. So we will be focusing on ourselves based on these three areas. Aggressive sellers right there at the top. We do have an area, support and resistance area right here. But you can see as the price approach there, no aggressive sellers showed up. So no trade. It actually reached the upside and holding above. So wait to see whether or not we can get the price coming in a bit higher, or potentially could end up finding this market actually giving us some sort of probe. And if we do see the price holding below, then we should be able to look for selling opportunities. So for now, we'll be making sure we manage our trade within these problem areas. But remember, if we are able to get the price breaching and holding below this particular area, you can end up watching out for the next problem areas. You can see there's an area where there are buyers here who have kept on pushing. So this is probably the next problem area that you have. If you are able to get the price breaking and holding below there, that's when you could end up getting the price coming all the way down to the bottom. Because remember, the overall game plan based on this 4-hour time frame, that is the ideal trade where the price we would be expecting, if the price did end up coming down, we did get a pullback, some slowdown, and we could end up seeing the market coming back to attempt to come back to that low. So we'll wait to see what ends up happening on gold. So seems the currency pairs not necessarily showing us that nice of potential trades. Hopefully when the fundamentals come out and there is a change to the watch list, and we let you know, there could be some nice things setting up there. It depends on how the markets react, but at least for the indices as well as gold and silver, it does seem that there is some nice potential trades available for us. So we'll wait to see what ends up happening on these pairs. So yes, that is it for all the currency pairs, including gold and silver, as well as the indices. So I can be able to address some questions in the Q&A section if there are any. So I'm seeing a few. So I'm seeing Esther Kabir saying, good morning, team. Good to see you, mate. Karibu sana, Esther. Glad that you are here as well. So Alandrono, giving a vote of thanks. Thanks so much for being here as well. So glad that you could all join us. Then I'm seeing Robert Morioki saying, morning, Nate and John. I'm humbly asking you guys to consider giving us a crash course of pair selection. I get this ill luck of choosing non-moving pairs, always stuck in a range of sorts. The basics of it, please. Okay, I think that's something that we can definitely end up organizing, at least trying to figure out what we can end up doing for you guys. Because I know sometimes you end up trying to figure out where are the big boys actually putting their money. But you know, majority of the time, what we end up looking for, because when we end up having the fundamentals, when this news comes out, ideally it gives a certain bias and there's certain data that has come out for a particular currency. Now, for these big organizations, hedge funds, these big financial institutions, the ones that we just call the big boys, they end up having to go through very many processes before they end up making a decision on what they're actually going to do. And remember, it's not just an individual trader who will actually make that choice. Since it's an organization, it has to go through so many departments, right, before it actually gets to the trader who is just told, buy this much of whatever it is, buy however many dollars or however many yens, ideally being able to do that. So they don't really know even the reason why their company is actually doing it, but the head people know. Now, for that decision to be made, it takes some time, right? It's not immediate, and that's the reason why we always say don't start trading the news. If the news is coming out and you see the market moving, that news, or at least that news was possibly just a catalyst. These big boys already knew what they were going to do beforehand, right? And that's the reason why at times we keep on mentioning these market opening time, 10, 3, and 4:30, because we're trying to figure out at what time. So we end up getting a bias, and that's the reason why we have there's positive news for the Swiss franc. There's positive news for the yen. There's a lot of negative news for all these other pairs. We're trying to figure out where is the big boy actually putting their money. Are they focusing on selling the New Zealand dollar? Are they focusing on selling the British pound? Are they focusing on buying the yen? So we're trying to figure out where they're actually putting the money. And remember, there are different big boys in different sessions. So the big boys in London are going to do something totally different than the big boys in the US. It's the same way the rich people in Kenya won't do the same thing as the rich people in South Africa. There's different things, right? So they'll end up making different decisions. So based on the information that they have. So that's the reason why we always say, we want to see, are the London big boys actually interested in actually moving a specific pair? And that's the reason why if you see the London big boys are not interested, we say, okay, then maybe the US big boys are. So that's majority of the time in terms of pair selection, we're trying to figure out where the big boy is actually moving the market. So that when we see that movement, that's where we'll focus on. And that will end up also helping you on pair selection. So I hope I've given you a bit of insight on that, but we'll definitely look to see what we can do to providing some sort of basics course for the pair selection. So we have had you, Robert. So hope that has helped. Then I'm seeing Daniel Timiu, Dan Pickett. So happy to see your screenshots here and saying thank you, Afriforex team. Karibu sana, Daniel. So I'm not seeing any more questions, which is okay. We do need to jump onto the charts. Remember, we do have this Swiss franc fundamentals coming out right now. So at 10 o'clock, so in 6 minutes, they are expecting some potential weakness. The expectation doesn't fully matter per se, but we'll wait to see. If we do end up finding that these fundamentals get stronger, then we could end up finding those pairs actually working out very nicely. If they do end up coming out worse, then we could end up moving the Swiss franc from our particular watch list and moving it to the opposite side. So we'll wait to see what ends up happening then. But remember, we also have some Euro fundamentals and we do have the Telegram channel. So make sure you are there for the changes that are potentially going to happen. So I guess that's it from me and from us. I'm not seeing any more questions, which is okay. Hope you guys have found value in these sessions. Currency pairs, sometimes it's not necessarily the best. Can't always expect every day to be the market's moving crazy amounts and always working out. Remember, it's like fishing. Some days you go there and you'll be able to get very many fish and there'll be many opportunities for you to fish. Some days there'll be nothing really there for you to end up biting. So we'll wait to see what ends up happening. And that's the reason why, at least when we manage our trades, focus on risk management, that's the way we'll actually end up growing. So I want to thank you guys so much for joining me today. Hope you guys have found value in this session. Hope to see you guys tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. So may the pips be with you guys. Happy trading. Cheers, guys. God bless and bye for now.